Jets.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers has been traded to the New York Jets. The reason this took so long is it was an awful lot of conversation about give and take. If you want this draft pick, you've got to give me something else besides the quarterback. Well, if we give you something else with Aaron Rodgers, you got to add something to the pot of gold. And then what complicated it was the dollar value of Aaron Rodgers' contract. He was due a $58 million bonus payment. And that meant huge outlay of money, either from Green Bay or the Jets. And it meant that Green Bay was going to take a massive salary cap hit by moving a guy off the roster. So this thing got long and it got drawn out because they went back and forth about the draft picks. And then they had to configure, how do we handle the Rodgers dollar value? What I've been told is the deal winds up this way. Aaron Rodgers winds up going with the 15th pick in this year's draft and a 5th round pick in this year's draft to the New York Jets. So the Jets are getting Green Bay's number 1 plus the quarterback plus the 5th round pick. As a trade-off, the Packers, they wind up with the Jets pick, which is at 13, so they flip-flop choices.
Mm-hmm.
They wind up with the 13th pick. They get the 2nd pick this year, 2nd round pick. They get the 6th round pick this year, and they'll get a number 1 next season as part of the deal. I think the Jets paid an unbelievable price for a 39-year-old quarterback, and Green Bay gets a higher number 1 now. They get this year's number 2. They get a later pick, and they're going to get the Jets number 1 next year for a 39-year-old quarterback they didn't want. And then to add on, they restructured down, and I don't know if the dollar values have been released yet. They've restructured down the $53 million, I believe, that Rodgers was due in bonus payments. Restructured that down to an extension with the Jets, so he's at least under contract for 2 years, if not a 3rd year, which means Green Bay takes less of a hit because the contract's restructured down. The Jets inhale the money, but it's spread out over 3 years rather than $53 million this year against the cap.
Mm-hmm.
That's why this thing took so long. Very complicated. I think Green Bay made a hell of a deal. The Jets got themselves a quarterback for 2 years, but the last time they did this, they got Brett Favre, and that did not work out very well. So from left field, John, tell me what you think.
Well, I mean, it seems like the Jets may have been desperate here because all their other quarterbacks didn't pan out. That kid from BYU wasn't working out. And so now they had to make a deal. And I think they probably got their backs up against the wall with the draft coming. They had to give the Packers what they wanted.
Well, they did, but they got a superstar quarterback. This is an MVP. And, they've upgraded their team. They drafted a really good running back last year in Breece Hall. Played 2/3 of the season, then had a bad knee injury, but he'll be back. They've traded for wide receivers. Their offensive line, which was shredded at offensive tackle last year, is all going to be back healthy in OTAs. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be there. He's going to be there after the draft, at the beginning of the OTAs and all the mini camps, etc., rather than sitting at home on the West Coast. Do I want to play? Do I not want to play? Do they love me? Do they love me not? So that's over. I tend to think that was a good deal. So I think it's a win for Green Bay in the big picture. I mean, because getting access to a higher number 1 this year, a 2, and next year's number 1,
yeah,
that's currency, pal.
Yeah, that is.
Yeah, and the Jets solved their quarterback issue right now. So they went for a 39-year-old quarterback who still got gas left in the tank, and we'll see how he plays going to a brand new team with a brand new offense, because it'll be very, very different.
Will the Jets be competitive in 2023?
Because the Jets have a really good defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they got a dynamic coach in Robert Saleh. So I think that's a big story. Now, the other factor here, there are more trades to come. We hear that Arizona is just in crisis mode. The Cardinals fired the general manager. They fired the coach, Cliff Kingsbury. Michael Bidwill is under enormous heat right now for toxic workplace environment within the Cardinal infrastructure. Deandre Hopkins is making a lot of money, has not been the player they thought. He kind of wants out. And their defensive heart and soul has publicly asked for a trade this past week.
Oh, man.
So the burning question is, does Arizona just press the button and blow the whole thing up. They got Kyler Murray, but it does not appear he's going to be back as a starting quarterback coming off knee surgery, at least not at the start of the season. So the Cardinals just utter disarray. So rebuild, trade the top wide receiver, and do they trade Budda Baker, who for some reason wants out? And I think he's got 3 years left on his contract, but he doesn't like the environment in the Valley of the Sun. So what does Arizona do? So keep an eye on that. That trade is still out there. Others, Austin Eckler, Chargers today held their pre-draft press conference, refused to answer any questions about Austin Eckler, his demand to be traded, the request that he be paid like other star running backs in the league, refused to answer any questions. So I think Austin Eckler is stuck there for at least one final year. We'll see if anything changes as it relates to the draft. And Derrick Henry in Tennessee is on the block. And I just found out today his contract number really balloons this year. And this is the reason maybe nobody's traded for him. He was earning $6 last year, and $6 is an average salary for a star running back. His number this year dumps up to 10.6. That's probably why there have been no offers to the Tennessee Titans for Derrick Henry. So those are the hot names on the trade rumor board. I do think there'll be a few more dominoes that will fall that might involve players and draft picks. This is a different landscape, John. You know, for decades upon decades, these are my draft picks. I'm not trading my draft picks, with the exception of George Allen and the exception of the LA Rams. People didn't make deals. This new breed of general manager, these guys from Harvard, they're trading picks, and they are trading players' contracts. And I inherited this team. I don't think that guy fits what I want to do. I don't care about the cap hit. I'm moving him off my roster. There were so many trades at the trade deadline last year. I think there were 18 at the NFL trade deadline, which you never, ever saw. So the landscape, National Football League, is very different. So your reaction to Arizona and what else might happen?
Well, isn't it interesting that Arizona didn't really work out? I mean, they had Fitzgerald, they had Kyler Murray, you have DeAndre Hopkins. I mean, we thought that was going to be a good team, and in some of these previous years, they were hot, you know, up to the midpoint of the season, and then they took a dump. I mean, was that all Kingsbury, or
Yes.
what else was going on there?
I think it was all Kingsbury, because I went back and I tracked Kingsbury's college coaching record in addition to what he did with the Arizona Cardinals. His numbers were horrid in November and December. I think the figure I had was 7 wins and 50 losses in the last 2 months of every season that he was a head coach. There's something bad there that they never ever solved. He never ever figured out. And that's why he's out of the NFL after such a short period of time. So fascinating to see where this goes. But Aaron Rodgers goes from Green Bay to the Jets, and Green Bay's got Jordan Love. They have given him the keys to the building, and they will sink or swim with what the ex-Utah State quarterback does. But, you know, he's been a backup for, 3 years now, and they think he's ready. He better be ready, because AR is not going to bail him out now. And I'll be interested. We go to the fans forum. If you're an NFL fan, who do you think got the best of the Green Bay Jets trade? Okay, on we go. You got another topic.